Hey everybody, Brian Leslie here with Unbreakable. So hang on a second while I adjust the table. Probably a little shake on the camera. My apologies. Um, but we're coming to you. This is extra content. We've been recording podcasts today, and so this is extra content on top of the podcast for here on our YouTube channel. Be sure to like or love, subscribe, share.
Yes.
It's like it's LSS. Like, subscribe, share. You can
Yes.
do it. It stands for less. Do it for less. Like, subscribe, share.
Wow.
Right? Like that.
Wow.
Just
Okay.
popped in my head, and I'm apologizing in advance for that. So anyway, we're here today. We want to talk to you more about marriage. We've been talking about marriage today, more so than we have been talking about parenting and children.
Yeah.
And we want to kind of stay on that topic today. The thing we want to talk to you about today is this. Especially for those of you who are just now about to get married, and you're just entering into your journey as husband and wife and heading towards your future, we want to tell you something. Marriage is a marathon.
Yes.
It's not a sprint.
No.
Now, getting married can be a sprint.
Yes. Yeah. The wedding part.
The wedding part.
Yeah.
But we get so focused on getting married that we forget about what we're going to do once we are.
Right.
You know, what's your plan? What are you going to do? How are we going to live together? What's our goals together?
Right.
I have a businessman that he's passed away now, but he's one of my favorite people. He talks about setting goals, accomplishing goals, and immediately setting a new goal so you don't lose the momentum of the goal you just reached.
Right.
And so most people really do a good job of setting the goal of we want to get married.
Right. Yeah.
And when we get married in 6 months, 18 months, 2 months,
Right.
tomorrow, whatever,
Yep.
you know, people set that goal and they pursue that
And work on it.
together
To get to the wedding.
to get to the wedding. And once it's accomplished, well, what's next?
Yeah. And so they'll start living, but they don't have a goal set, so
Right.
therefore they just start wandering. Then they're not focused on something together. We always talk about in our marriage how once we've got something accomplished, now what is our goal for the next season? What is our next season? What are we doing? We just finished a goal. This is not a newlywed thing, but we just finished a goal of raising our children to adulthood, and we finished, yay! and I homeschooled them all.
Right.
You know, for 26 years I was homeschooling children, but we accomplished it, and we got it done, and now we had to say we finished, we celebrated, we were happy, we graduated Abby, and we're all good, but then we had to say, okay, now what is our next season?
What's next?
And what are we going to do? And we set the goal for what we're striving for next.
And we didn't just set a goal, we prayed about it. We went to the Lord like, okay, Lord,
what do you have for us?
This is the focus you gave us. And we focused on that for 30 plus years. We raised our children.
Yeah.
Because God said that's what our focus was at. We were still pastoring, we're still working, we're still doing other things, but the focus, the drive, the goal was to raise children into adults that were functioning, not dysfunctional, that they were godly, not ungodly, and they were productive citizens of our country.
Right.
And we've done all of that. Now, to say we've done all that would be unfair because they had parts to play.
Yes.
They had to do their part.
Yeah.
They had to receive the training. They had to receive the instruction. They had to receive our nudging and our pushing to help them get where they need to be. Now, we learned all that. And so it was, like you said, 26 years of homeschool education that she taught as a teacher. And as soon as we were finished and we celebrated, and then she came to me and was like, okay.
Now what do I do?
I feel kind of empty because this fall's coming up and I'm not working on curriculum and I'm not working on, lesson plans and all that, and I don't have anything to do. What do I do? And so we began to pray, and God gave us the assignment that you're getting the benefit of listening to us talk. So we were always pretty serious from day one about
Actually,
marriage.
The Lord was really good to me because He kind of started us on the next thing before I really finished all the way with Abby. So He knew me. He knew I needed to have.
And so we began this new journey, this new adventure of
sharing with all of you.
And helping others learn from the things that we learned that God showed us.
Right.
It's not so much that we're all that smart, but God gave us principles.
Right.
He gave us revelation. He gave us insights, and He gave us processes to raise our children to do what they're doing. So out of that has come other things. We've got 2 books that have been written. Now, hers is already it's on the way to the publisher. It's not at the publisher yet because she has to finish a couple little things, but it's already going, and that'll be out in the year, first of the year. Mine's following up shortly thereafter, and so we're doing all these things, but it didn't happen in an instant because marriage is a marathon, not a sprint.
Right. Yeah.
So we want to encourage you that, okay, let's get to the wedding. Like right now, I'm actually going to be doing a wedding at the beginning of next month at the time of this recording, and that couple is really excited about getting married. They've got their event planned, they've got their venue ready to go, they've got their food coming, they've got the cake ordered, they know what they're going to wear. They've been working together for a period of time now, for about a year, I would think. They just how long it's taken them to put all this together. And I'm getting to officiate that, which is kind of cool, and do all that. And so one of the things I'm sharing with them in the meantime is, okay, this is cool, this is great, let's get through this, it's going to be here before you know it, but then what? Then what is what catches us? Because what typically happens is a couple, young or old, get really excited about each other. They're all, woo, I love you too, no, I love you more, no, I love you most. And they do all of that stuff, and then let's do this, let's get married, all right. And they make the announcements, they prepare, they get their bridegrooms, they get their bridesmaids. I mean,
and face it, weddings are like huge to-dos.
Yeah,
so,
massive.
It's massive.
They drop
Thousands
and thousands of dollars. I think the average wedding right now costs somewhere around $18,000 to $25,000. It's crazy,
incredible.
And that stat may not be exactly right, but somewhere it's a large amount of money. So they drop all this money to get married, but they do not even consider what happens day 2. They consider what happens day 1.
Yeah.
For the wedding night and the next day. They've even planned for the first 2 weeks to have a honeymoon.
Yeah.
But after that, there's no plan. And here's what typically happens. They do all this. They're all excited. They have this common goal. They go. They get married. They go on the honeymoon. They do all these things. They come back. And then they get stuck in the rut of the day-to-day routine. Maybe they both have jobs. Maybe one stays at home. It just depends on whatever. And then what happens is there's a natural drifting that occurs because they haven't looked at the long term of their relationship. And so they lose their common goal, they lose their common interest, they lose their commonality. And then 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, maybe in a year or 2, children come along. Like in the case of this couple that I'm marrying, they're older, so no more children are coming along. So they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do together with older. They both have older children. They're not not going to raise another family. So what do we do? So typically younger couples, they get together, maybe they have some children. Well, now the children give them a common goal to a certain respect to raise them, bring them up, and then go forward. But
if the only common goal that you have are the children,
come on,
then when the children are grown and they leave, and they're going to do that, then what is the common goal that the two of you share? If it's only the children, then you've forgotten to keep your commonality together. And so what are some things that can be goals for people? What's the next step? The next step. So you said like children.
Yeah.
So what else could be a common thing that they are shooting for, they're reaching for?
Well, you can start with the children. If you have to decide if they're going to be public school, private school, or homeschool. You make that decision. And each one of those decisions, each of those types of education will put a different demand on you as a parent. Parent-teacher conferences, those were held between my wife and I. It could be homeschool. It could be also if they're going to pursue athletics or gymnastics, or they're going to pursue music or arts. If they're going to be a hands-on person that takes things. I mean, if they're going to be a tradesman or a tradeswoman. If they're going to do that, and then you help guide and nurture that with your children through that. I mean, did you grow up and you're a fanatic, whatever sport player, and you wanted them to follow in your footsteps? All that is potential commonality in goal setting with your children, and that's good. But now you got to look at each other. Okay, what do we want to accomplish?
Right.
Do we want to save a certain amount of money for a house?
Yes.
Do we want to save a certain amount of money to go on vacation?
Yes.
Do we want to work within a charity and help a charity out? Do we want
Right.
to give of our time to other organizations?
Yep.
And then how does that work? What kind of effort do we want to give to our church?
Yes.
To our faith?
Right.
How do we want to grow our faith together?
Together. Yeah.
There's all sorts of different kinds of goals you're asking about.
Right.
And so there's physical goals. There's relational goals.
Yep.
There are financial goals. There are spiritual goals.
Yep.
So all of those are things that you can set and have that conversation. You
Right.
gotta. I mean, we always talk about communication and conversation, and so you have that conversation, you have that communication, and you set those goals.
Yes.
I mean, maybe we want to read the Bible,
Together.
all of it, in a year.
Yeah.
And so we do that. Maybe we want to volunteer our time with a particular charity that we really, think is really cool. Like, for example, I got some friends of mine. They have a nephew who's a special needs young man, but he is a Special Olympic athlete. So all the events he does throughout the year, that they go to all these Special Olympic events as a family.
Yeah.
The husband, the wife, and their kids go to support their nephew.
Right.
And they are a team. I won't make the name, but they're his team.
Yeah.
And they will go out and do all these different things. I know the husband and wife have gone out. They have a polar bear plunge every year to raise money. They go out and raise. People will sponsor them to go out and get out in the water for X amount of minutes in ice cold, nasty, freezing water. Something I would not particularly do, but they do it as a sacrifice for the nephew, and they do it as a family, which is, to us a little crazy, but it keeps them together, and it's a common bond that they do on an annual basis. So those are some of the things that you can do to keep commonality.
I have friends. Okay, so we're in our 50s.
No.
I have friends who the husband is a pilot in his employment. His employment is he is a pilot. But they have made flying part of their togetherness. Their kids have grown and gone out of the house, but that is something they enjoy together. And so even though it was his job, it became something they enjoy to do together, and they plan trips or they go out to eat, but farther away than you and I would go because they're flying to that place. But that's something they can enjoy together. We have other friends who are into motorcycles, and so they do motorcycling together. And they can make it be something spiritual. Yeah. Like they could motorcycle to an event or to sponsor, be sponsored to do something that's raising money for a charity or something like that. Or they can do it just as fun, but it's something they enjoy together. And having commonality makes your marathon go much smoother and easier because you're not at each other and you're not going separate directions. You're going the same way. Yeah. And that's important to go the same way.
And you have to understand there comes a point in time that you have to quit acting single. Yeah. And start acting married. Yeah. That may mean saying no to your buddy group, be it girl or female, whichever side it may be. It may be not going to something because it's not family friendly and you want to do it with your family instead. Right. Give you an example. We had places that we went with other family and other friends, but they didn't believe and think the way we think and believe, but they were family and friends. So we would go and we would stay as long as we can until language started happening, drinking started happening, things started happening that we didn't need to expose our kids to some things that was going to create. Right. So we would leave early and go do something else. Yeah. Because that's part of our commonality of who we are. Because for us, faith was the number one thing in our relationship as a married couple. Right. Even in our vows, we talked about your God is our God, and your God is my God is your God. Yep. And I'm going to go where you go, and your people, my people, and my people, your people. That was all part of our vows. And so we did all that, but we've kept that in the forefront of our marriage from day one. Right. And now we're pushing, we're over 30 years at this point. And
in the marathon analogy there, it's okay. Like we've had times in our marathon where maybe I was here in my spirituality and Brian was up here, and it could be reversed where I was
Yeah,
up here
absolutely.
and he was down here. And so there are different points in our marathon where we weren't exactly together, but we pull the other one up, we encourage the other one, we pray for the other one,
Absolutely right.
and we pull them up to where we're so that we are once again running together on that marathon.
No, it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Because in a marathon there are stages of how a runner runs a marathon.
Right.
There's the initial takeoff, which is a sprint,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I don't run at all.
Nobody runs.
Never cared to run. Anyway, but I got friends who do.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for them.
Yes.
But in a marathon, you sprint up to a certain point. I don't know if it's a couple hundred yards. I don't know the distance.
You go a ways.
But you sprint until the pack separates.
Mm-hmm.
Once it separates, you get into a pace
Mm-hmm.
that suits you.
Right.
There are some runners who run obviously faster than others.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, you can't compare how they're running to you, because if you try to keep up the pace of the leader and you're
Mm-hmm.
not really a world-class marathon runner,
Mm-hmm.
you're just an average, maybe above average or a really good marathon runner,
Yeah.
the goal is to finish the race. The goal isn't to compete with the guy who's in first place.
Right.
You're competing against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing in your marriage. As you're running a marathon, you're not comparing yourself. They all say, comparing yourself to the Joneses, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to have the same house, same car, same boat, same job, same
Right.
stuff. The marathon has to do with you and your spouse,
Right.
and what you want to accomplish in your life and in your marriage. I've got a friend of mine. He's a CEO of a major company, and international company.
Mm-hmm.
I don't compare myself to him because I'm not in the same position as him.
Right.
I've seen pictures of his home, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, that is a nice home, and which it is. But I'm not jealous or envious. I'm
Right.
glad for him. I'm celebrating him,
Mm-hmm.
and he and his wife raised a nice family. I think their kids are just getting to the age where they're starting to come out of high school and into college, because they started later than what we did,
Mm-hmm.
because he pursued career over family initially, and then they pursued family after they established themselves in their career.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay, because they sat down, he and his wife had that conversation, and that was a goal for them.
Right.
And so at a certain point, then they said, okay, now we start our family. So that's the conversations you have to have. And they took a long-term approach to their relationship
Right.
and to their family building.
Yes.
And they've done very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
You have to decide how you're going to do that. Is your priority going to be on your finances? Is your priority going to be on your work?
Yeah.
Is your priority going to be on your children?
Mm-hmm.
Where's your top priorities? And you can have multiple priorities in
Yes.
this marathon. Even in a marathon runner, they have certain places where they push harder
Mm-hmm.
and certain places where they back off.
But
All-
it's a team marathon.
Yeah, and this one is a team marathon, right?
In your marriage, it's a team marathon.
But it's all with the goal of getting to the finish
Yes,
line.
Get to the finish line. Yep.
And what's the finish line for a marriage? Well, for us, we believe it's still death do us part.
Yeah.
That sounds harsh, but it's just that's where we come from in our faith.
Yeah.
Let's go. Love me forever? It's like, nah. And she's like, you better. And so we talk about it all the time. And so it's how you approach that, how you go forward, and then how you keep that goal in front of you, how you nurture that goal.
Yep.
Let's just go to the basics. Your number one marathon goal in marriage is to stay married.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep.
It sounds simple, which is simple, not always easy, right?
Yep.
Because simple's not always easy, and easy's not always simple.
Right.
So it's simple. So what do I have to do to make that work?
Mm-hmm.
I have to, on a daily basis, do something that means I'm moving forward with my relationship with my wife.
Yeah.
Whether it's through a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's through a book that we're going to read together,
Yeah.
or a podcast we're going to listen to, or a conference we're going to go to,
Mm-hmm.
or a small group at our church,
Or a date we're gonna go on.
a date night, play night with the kids,
Yeah.
with some friends, something that nurtures us,
Mhm.
not just the whole family,
Mm-hmm.
nurtures just the two of us. We've
Right.
always have put high priority on our relationship.
Yes.
And we attempt to, at least once a week, even if it's at home, even if we don't go somewhere, just tell the kids, Mom and Dad are unavailable for the next hour.
Yeah.
You guys can play, you can do stuff, don't leave the house, don't burn it down. But we're going to the bedroom, we're going to go to sit in the living room, watch a movie. You guys want to watch it with us, it's fine, but we're unavailable except that we are doing our own thing for the next hour, 2 hours, whatever it's going to be.
Yep.
But we've always done that. And as the kids got older, and they can start babysitting one another. It's like, we're going to go out to eat. We're going to do this. We're going to do that.
Yeah.
We've nurtured the
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
Because marathons, marriage, goal number one is to remain married.
Yeah.
Just,
And if you're going to remain married, it should be a happy, good marriage.
oh, come on.
So you need to do those things together. It's important.
Yeah. Because you don't want to be miserable.
No.
You didn't get married to be miserable.
No.
You got married because you love each other.
The benefit too of spending all that time together or focusing on a goal together is that you are able to appreciate that person and love them
Yeah.
more and more and more
Yeah.
because you're spending that time and that effort and the focus together.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you want to do that. That's really, I think, you asked me about goals. And I think goal number one is stay married.
Yeah.
Goal number two is stay happy. Really?
Yeah.
Stay happy with your marriage. God doesn't care about your happiness, but He does care about your character.
Yeah.
And He does care about your marriage.
Yep.
And He does want you to be satisfied inside your marriage. But the way that you stay happy in your marriage is by making sure your spouse is staying happy, and vice versa.
I think another major part of that is what you say about your marriage.
Uh-oh.
What you think about it and what you say about it. And so if you only have negative things to think and say about
Yeah.
your marriage, you're probably headed in the wrong direction. And it's not going to be happy because when everything's negative, that's not happy. And so if you can change the thoughts and change your heart around to where you are positive and you are looking for the good things
Yeah.
and you're finding the best qualities in your
Yes.
spouse, because in 1 Corinthians it says that love bears all things. It also believes all things. And so I have to believe the best of Brian at all times. I'm looking for the best in him. I'm bearing with him constantly, and I'm looking for the best because I love him and I want our marriage to be happy. And so I have to think on the good things about him to have that.
And you need to do that not just when you're together, but when you're apart as well. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I worked in a parts place. We sold parts for trailers, trailer manufacturers all over the United States. And I was working on one particular day, and they put me on a counter, which I wasn't normally on, for the retail side of things. And we were really busy that day. We probably had 15 to 30 guys lined up trying to buy parts for their boat trailer, their motorcycle, all that. All those things were whatever they needed. And they were rambunctious kind of group, and kind of a rowdy group, and not a most positive group. And they all start talking about their girlfriends and their wives. And it wasn't a positive conversation.
No.
So I was just quiet. I didn't jump in. I didn't interject. And I just kept doing my job, getting the parts and the things that they needed. And so the group had dwindled down to, there's still like 10 or 15 guys in there. And maybe more. And one guy looked at me and goes, he's talking bad about his wife. He goes, how about you? Married? I am. He goes, you old lady like that? First off, I don't call my wife my old lady. She's my wife. I didn't tell him that. I said, actually, no. I said, I've made 2 quality decisions in my life. He goes, oh? I said, yeah. So number 1 is ask Jesus Christ in my heart as my Lord and Savior. Number 2 is ask my wife to be my bride.
Right.
I said, she's amazing. She's the best thing I've ever done on this earth. Jesus is the best thing I've done for eternity. She's the best thing I've ever done on this earth. She's an amazing, amazing woman. And I start talking her up to this crowd of guys. The whole room goes quiet. And then there's an older guy. Now this was like 20 plus years ago, so I was one of the younger guys back then. I'm not as much anymore. And this guy was probably in his 60s or 70s, and he's like, finally, someone has something positive to say about their girl. I go, how about you? He goes, oh man, I've been married for 40 some odd years, and she's amazing. And he and I had this great conversation, positive about our wives. And so I want to tell you that in the marathon, sometimes what you're doing is countercultural. And so you can't just cave
Nope.
to the circumstance around you.
Right.
You know, we're in the same boat, but you don't want to let the water in the boat.
Right.
You want to cruise across the water.
Mm-hmm.
That boat is your marriage, it's your
Yeah.
life, and you're cruising across, and all the waves and stuff around you are working against you, but you want to be positive
Yeah.
about your spouse. You want to
Yep.
be upbeat. You got to watch what you think,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to watch what you say.
Yes.
And if it's not a good time, like I said, I was quiet. I didn't say anything. I just kept doing my job.
Yep.
Because for me just to interject would probably cause conflict.
Right.
But when they asked me directly,
Right.
they gave me permission to have that conversation.
Yep.
And so I did. Leslie was nowhere near me. I
No.
didn't have to have that conversation that way. I could have jumped in there, oh yeah, you guys, whoa. I did none of that because I value her even when she's not in my presence.
Right.
And that's part of the Keeping Married
Mm-hmm.
marathon,
Yes.
is how we value one another
Yes.
and love one another.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add to that? No?
That's good.
Is that good?
That's good.
She's smiling. I'm going to get off the camera because that was a cute smile. We might, say hi real close. I don't know. See? Anyway, thanks for watching
Wow.
the video. Wow is right.
Wow. Thank you for watching. You make your marriage a marathon and live it right and have goals and focus and do it together. It's awesome.
And have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
In the process. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're having fun here at the end, but it's good. So remember, your marriage is not a sprint.
Right.
It's a marathon.
It is.
Thank you for hanging out with us today and watching another video with us here on Unbreakable. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Have a great day. Bye.